Imagine a world without words, where the human body was the only form of expression. Thousands of years ago, our ancestors discovered something powerful: dance. But this wasn't just entertainment. It was a sacred language, a direct connection to the divine. Today, we're going to unveil the secrets of this ancient art. Before writing, before temples, dance already existed. In the first human societies, it was a survival tool, a way to communicate with the gods, with nature, and with each other. Close your eyes and picture it. Prehistoric humans moving in synchrony, their bodies telling stories more complex than any spoken language could express. How did these ritual dances emerge? What was their true meaning? And why do they still resonate within us today? Think about it. In a world where survival was a daily challenge, where every movement could mean the difference between life and death, our ancestors found something extraordinary in dance. It wasn't just movement. It was survival. It was prayer. It was connection. Imagine a hunter returning from a successful hunt. Instead of simply announcing his triumph, he would dance. His movements would tell the entire story: the tracking, the chase, the moment of victory. Or picture a community praying for rain during a devastating drought. Their dance wasn't just a performance. It was a collective plea to the spirits, a rhythmic invocation of hope. These weren't just dances. They were living, breathing historical documents. Each step, each gesture carried the weight of human experience, of cultural memory, of spiritual longing. If you love history and want to unravel the mysteries of great empires, this is your journey. Hit that like button, subscribe to the Dawn of Humankind channel, and don't miss a single episode of our incredible exploration into the roots of human expression. Are you ready to travel back in time and discover the mesmerizing world of ritual dance? Let's begin. Let me take you back in time more than 40,000 years ago to the dark, mysterious caves of Africa and Europe. Imagine a world where words don't exist, where survival depends on understanding each other through movement, rhythm, and raw emotion. The first dances were more than just steps. They were survival. They were communication. They were life itself. Picture a group of early humans after a successful hunt. They didn't simply announce their victory with words. No, they transformed their triumph into movement. Each leap, each stomp, each fluid motion told the entire story of the hunt. They would imitate the animals they had tracked, the powerful stride of a deer, the cunning movement of a wolf, the precise moment of a predator's attack. These weren't just movements, these were living stories, painted with human bodies against the backdrop of survival. Sometimes they danced to call for rain during brutal droughts. Imagine a community, their bodies moving in synchronized patterns, hands reaching toward the sky, feet pounding the dry earth. Each movement a prayer, each rhythm a desperate hope for water to sustain their lives. In a world without language, dance became the first universal communication. Emotions that couldn't be spoken were expressed through gesture. Intentions that couldn't be explained were revealed through movement. It was art, it was language, it was survival, all rolled into one powerful expression of human experience. And here's a mind-blowing curiosity that might surprise you. In some ancient cultures, ritual dances weren't quick performances. They could last for days. Literally days. Participants would enter deep trances, believing they were communicating directly with the spiritual world. Can you imagine dancing continuously for days, your body moving in such a way that you believe you're bridging the gap between the physical and the divine? These weren't just dances. They were portals to another reality, a way for humans to touch something greater than themselves. So the next time you move to a rhythm, remember, you're participating in one of humanity's oldest forms of expression. You're continuing a tradition that goes back 40,000 years, a tradition that helped our ancestors survive, communicate, and understand the world around them. As time passed, dance transformed. It was no longer just a celebration of life's moments. It became something far more profound, a sacred ritual, a bridge between the human and the divine. Close your eyes and imagine indigenous communities across the Americas. Their dances weren't mere entertainment. They were living prayers, intricate conversations with the spiritual world. Each step was a word, each movement a sentence, each rhythm an entire prayer. When the harvest season approached, these communities didn't simply gather crops, they danced. Imagine dancers moving in perfect synchronization, their bodies telling stories of gratitude, of hope, of connection with the earth that sustained them. Every twist, every leap was an offering to the spirits who protected their lands. These weren't just movements, these were spiritual languages more complex than any spoken word. Native American tribes would invoke protective spirits through elaborate dance ceremonies. A dance could summon rain during a drought. Another could ensure a successful hunt. Some dances were designed to heal the sick, to bring balance to the community, to communicate with ancestors who had long passed. Think about the power of that. In a world where survival was uncertain, dance became a way to negotiate with the universe. Each performance was a negotiation, a plea, a thanksgiving. Dancers weren't just moving, they were mediators between the physical and spiritual realms. Some of these sacred dances were so intricate that it could take years to learn a single ceremonial dance. Young community members would spend months, sometimes years, studying every subtle movement, every symbolic gesture. It was more than an art form. It was a sacred knowledge passed down through generations. Imagine a young dancer, trembling with anticipation, performing a dance that his grandfather learned from his grandfather. Each movement carrying the weight of centuries of spiritual wisdom. Each step a connection to something larger than themselves. The sacred dance was never about perfection. It was about intention, about connection, about reaching beyond the visible world and touching something miraculous. In these moments of dance, humans weren't just moving. They were praying, they were healing, they were surviving. Not all dances were about peace and celebration. Some were weapons themselves, powerful rituals of war and survival. Picture a warrior tribe preparing for battle. The atmosphere is electric, tension vibrates through the air. But instead of simply grabbing weapons, they dance. These weren't just movements, these were transformations. Warriors would perform intricate dance rituals before confronting their enemies, believing each step could summon courage, each movement could invoke supernatural protection. Imagine a dance so powerful that it could change a warrior's internal state, turning fear into fierce determination. In many indigenous cultures, war dances were psychological preparations. Each stomp was a declaration of strength, each gesture a message to themselves and to their opponents. We are not afraid. We are powerful. We will survive. Some tribes performed dances that literally mimicked battle movements. A leap might represent a spear throw. A spin could symbolize dodging an enemy attack. These weren't just performances, they were mental and physical training, a way to rehearse victory before the actual conflict. Warriors would paint their bodies, wear elaborate headdresses, and move with such intensity that witnesses would feel the raw energy. Their dance was a language of intimidation, a way to make enemies doubt before the first blow was struck. The Maori of New Zealand, for example, had the famous haka, a war dance so powerful it could make opponents tremble. Imagine facing warriors who scream, stomp, and move with such ferocious energy that their very dance becomes a weapon of psychological warfare. These dances were about more than showing strength. They were about transforming human beings from individuals into a unified, unstoppable force, a collective spirit that could face any challenge. And hey, speaking of incredible ritual dances, did you know some of these ceremonial performances could last for days? Days. Participants would enter deep trances, believing they were communicating with spiritual worlds. If you're loving these incredible stories of human history, do me a favor. Like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the Dawn of Humankind channel for more mind-blowing historical journeys. And I want to hear from you in the comments. What ritual dance do you find most fascinating? Which ancient dance tradition blows your mind? Drop your thoughts below. Let's talk about something truly magical: fertility dances. These weren't just movements. They were powerful rituals that connected humans to the deepest mysteries of life itself. In ancient Egyptian and Greek cultures, dance became a sacred dialogue with nature. Imagine groups of women moving in perfect circular formations, their bodies telling the most fundamental story of existence, the cycle of life, death, and rebirth. These weren't random movements. Each step was a prayer, each twirl a celebration of the most profound miracle, the ability to create life. Women would gather often under moonlight, moving in synchronized patterns that mimicked the rhythms of the earth. Their dance was a collective heartbeat, a rhythmic invocation of fertility and hope. Picture an ancient Greek landscape. The ground is parched, crops are struggling, families are worried about survival, and then the fertility dance begins. Women move in intricate circles, their movements symbolizing the turning of seasons, the renewal of life, the promise of abundance. It wasn't just about human reproduction. These dances were about the entire ecosystem. A dance could invoke rain for crops. It could celebrate the potential of a seed, the promise of a harvest, the continuation of the human story. In many cultures, these dances were complex spiritual ceremonies. Participants would wear specific colors, use symbolic movements, sometimes even wear special jewelry or ornaments that represented fertility. A dance might last hours, with each movement carefully choreographed to tell a story of growth, potential, and renewal. The dancers weren't just moving. They were becoming living symbols of nature's most powerful force, the ability to create, to nurture, to continue. Each woman represented not just herself, but the entire potential of her community, her species. Some fertility dances were so sacred that only specific women could perform them. Priestesses, women of special spiritual significance, would lead these ceremonies. They were the bridges between the physical world and the spiritual realm of creation. Imagine the power of that moment. A group of women, moving as one, invoking the most fundamental magic of existence, their bodies telling a story older than words, more profound than any spoken language could express. These weren't just dances. They were declarations of hope, celebrations of potential. Rituals that reminded humans of their deepest connection to the natural world. Imagine a world without books, without written language. How would you preserve your history, your struggles, your greatest victories? For ancient cultures, the answer was simple: dance. Ritual dance was far more than entertainment. It was a living, breathing historical archive. Each movement was a page in a story, each rhythm a chapter of collective memory. The elders didn't just teach history. They transformed it into poetry of motion. Picture an elder standing before a group of young community members. Instead of lecturing, he begins to move. His body tells the story of their people's greatest battles, their most profound migrations, their spiritual journeys. A leap might represent a heroic moment of triumph. A slow, mournful turn could symbolize a devastating loss. These weren't just dances, these were living documentaries. In many indigenous cultures, young people would spend years learning these sacred choreographies. A single dance could contain the entire oral history of a tribe. Imagine carrying generations of knowledge in your muscles, in your bones, in the way you move. Some Native American tribes would perform dances that commemorated important hunting expeditions. Every gesture would represent a moment from the journey, tracking an animal, the tension of the hunt, the moment of success. Young hunters would learn not just the practical skills of survival, but the spiritual significance of their role in the community. African tribes would use dance to pass down creation myths, to explain natural phenomena, to preserve genealogies. A dance might tell the story of how their people came to inhabit a specific land, or how they survived a great drought. Each movement was a word, each sequence a paragraph in their living history. Think about the incredible power of this. In a world where knowledge could be lost, where stories could disappear, dance became an unbreakable method of preservation. It was a time machine, a preservation technique more reliable than any written document. And here's the most incredible part. These dances weren't static, they evolved. Each generation would add subtle nuances, small modifications that reflected their own experiences while maintaining the core story. It was a living, breathing, historical record. As we reach the end of our journey through the world of ritual dance, let's take a moment to reflect on something profound. Ritual dance wasn't just a form of expression, it was humanity's first language. A bridge between the physical and the spiritual, between human beings and something greater than themselves. Close your eyes for a second. Feel the rhythm of your own heartbeat. That pulse. That's the same rhythm our ancestors used thousands of years ago to communicate with the universe. The same movement that told stories of survival, of hope, of connection. Even in our modern world of smartphones and instant messaging, we still carry something ancient within us. That fundamental human need to connect, to celebrate, to tell our stories through movement. Think about it. When you're excited and jump for joy, when you sway to music at a concert, when you dance at a wedding, you're participating in a tradition older than civilization itself. Look around you. Dance is everywhere. It's in the way a child moves spontaneously to a song. It's in the rhythmic steps of a street performer. It's in the precise movements of a ballet dancer. It's in the passionate steps of a salsa dancer. Each movement carries the echo of those ancient ritual dances. So I want to ask you something. How does dance influence your life today? When was the last time you truly let yourself move without thinking? When did you last connect with something larger than yourself through movement? If this journey through the world of ritual dance has touched you, if it's made you see movement in a whole new light, then I have a favor to ask. Hit that like button. Share this video with friends who love history, who love understanding the deep roots of human experience. Subscribe to the Dawn of Humankind channel, because every view, every share is a way of keeping these ancient stories alive, of continuing a tradition that goes back thousands of years, of remembering that we are part of something much, much larger than ourselves. Dance on, my friends, dance on.